My name is Brad Metter. I'm the product lead for Google Mobile Management. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about securing endpoints for both Cloud Identity and G Suite. We're going to give you a few demos. We're going to, if we got our timing right, we're going to have time for some Q&A at the end as well. So my colleague Sachin is going to help with the demos. So say hi, Sachin. So cool. First question, how many people here know that you're using device management of some form to access enterprise data? Anybody? Show of hands. It's pretty good. How many people here are administrators who are responsible for managing a system that does device management? A few. Cool. So some of this is introductory, so we'll take you through it. So first thing, a primer for those who don't know what endpoint management is. I think about it in kind of three pillars. So one is traditional device management, which is making sure that any device that accesses your corporate systems is secure. You have an inventory of those devices. You know which ones are accessing what. You can enforce policy on them, and you can take an action on the device if something happens to it, if it becomes lost or stolen. Second pillar is around application management. And so application management is making sure that your end users have access to the applications that they need to do their jobs. So we're talking about application whitelisting, pushing those applications out. And for folks who are looking at both personal and corporate data on phones, making sure that we maintain a separation between those two so you don't have any kind of data exfiltration between the two environments. And then finally, there's an administration piece, which is managing the fleet of devices that you've distributed. So there's audit and reporting, there's threat mitigation, enterprise management, and that sort of thing. So that's the quick primer. So let me tell you why that's important. So more than 1/4 of smartphone owners do not use a screen lock. This should scare you if you're responsible for protecting your corporate data or your corporate systems. So if you think about it, the modern smartphone, iOS and Android, it's really hard to turn off the passcode. It's part of the setup flow. So this means that your end users are actively reaching out, turning off this because it's annoying them, right? And what that means is that somebody can have their smartphone in Starbucks and they can leave it on the table, and someone can pick it up, and they can, if you don't have device management on it, they can pick it up and start accessing mail and any other sensitive data that might be on those devices. So that should be unacceptable. So that said, only about 1 in 10 devices that are used for business access are managed. And so 90% of these business devices out there are unprotected. That means that the administrator has no idea who's using what device to access their data, and they have no idea whether that device is protected in any way, shape, or form. So I am on a mission to fix that. So I want to get that flipped so it's more like 9 in 10 instead of 1 in 10. So let's talk about why people are not turning on device management. So one is awareness. I'm trying to fix some of that today by talking to you guys. 2 is cost. So there's a cost incurred by using a EMM to manage your devices. And third is it's really difficult. It's hard to roll these systems out. The end user experience can be unintuitive. It kind of turns your security folks, turns your end users off. And so a lot of people just aren't willing to deal with it. We're trying to fix that. So let's talk about Google Mobile Management. So Google Mobile Management is in both the G Suite and in Cloud Identity. So I think most folks here are probably familiar with G Suite. How many people are familiar with our new Cloud Identity offering? I see our PMM in the back is familiar with that. That's good. So, so we launched, for those of you who don't know, we took all of the user, application, and device management features of the G Suite, and we peeled that off into a new offering called Cloud Identity Premium. We launched that in March. And so that's available. You may work in an organization who's not ready to switch to a new productivity tool and the change management that's required for that, but you are ready to move all of your administration up into the cloud, and you can do that through Cloud Identity Premium. There's also a Cloud Identity free version as well. So all of my device management tools are built into both of these products. So our mission is to maximize user productivity while keeping data secure. And if you think about it, these two ideas are actually in a little bit of conflict with each other. So as an administrator, you want to make sure that anyone who is accessing your corporate systems is doing so in a secure way, that that you cannot lose control of your data. As an end user, you don't care about any of that. You just want to be able to work where you want to work, on the device that you want to work, at whatever time and whatever place. And so we're trying to balance basically two sides of the same coin to provide this really seamless end user experience on a very secure system. And so that's my whole mission. So we currently, on the mobile management side, we manage more than 10 million 30-day active devices. That's primarily Android and iOS, and a few other devices, and we're going to talk in more depth about that a little bit later. So let's talk about what these features look like, and then we're going to get into some of the demos through this. So one, comprehensive protection. So we talked about mobile protection on iOS and Android. So what does that mean? We can manage and secure both G Suite apps, third-party apps, all mobile apps. We apply our policies at the user level so they can register once on a device. All of those policies are going to be applied across multiple products. We provide consistent security policies that are customizable by OU. I do want to give a shout out to the Android team. So while we work with both iOS and Android, and we'll show you that in a demo, we are big fans of Android for Work, or the Android Work Profile, which maintains a complete separation of enterprise and personal data on a phone. We really like the way this works. It's been great for our customers. We're the largest provider of Android enterprise devices in the world. So let's talk about easy management, and this is the thing where I think Google Mobile Management excels. So we talked about that 1 in 10 managed devices earlier. A large part of the reason that people don't turn on device management, it's too hard. You have to go and install a device profile on your device. You end up, in some cases, you don't get to use the applications you want. So you might have to use a different email provider or whatever. So we have thought long and hard about how we can integrate the consumer experience of Google into the enterprise experience and make it very easy for someone to onboard a device and turn that into a managed device. So we have what we call agentless management. That means that just the act of logging into a G Suite application like Gmail or Drive gives us an inventory of that device. It allows us to enforce a passcode on that device, and it allows us to selectively wipe the account off the device if there's a problem. And this is completely seamless to the end user. So we've turned this on by default for all of our new G Suite customers and all of our cloud identity customers, and we are rolling it out to all of our existing customers over time. So the idea here is that even if you're a small business and you don't know that you need device management, or you aren't ready to go through the process of turning on advanced device management, we've got your back, and we've turned it on for you to make your environment more secure. And to talk about that in more depth, we're going to do a quick demo. So let's do a demo of agentless management. So sweet. So Sachin here is on vacation. He doesn't have any corporate devices with him. He's just found out he needs to respond to an urgent email. So he's going to take a new personal device. He's going to log into Gmail for the first time. That device is going to become managed, and we're going to show that whole process. So first, you can see this is our device listings page, and you can see that there aren't any devices that are assigned to Sachin at the moment. So now we're going to switch over. So now we're on our Android device. Note that this has a passcode enforced on this device. So Sachin's put in his passcode, and now he's going to log into Gmail for the first time. That was his personal Gmail. So now we're going to go and we're going to add the corporate account. So we'll give it just a second to put it in. It asks for the passcode again. So now we're going to add the corporate account. And the act of adding the account registers it with our servers. We check the policy to make sure that there's a passcode on it. And once we've confirmed that the policy is set, then we allow access to Gmail. So is it working? Looks like we're coming in here. Give it just a second. We switch accounts to the, sorry about that. Should go back to Is that it? Is that the, okay, so this is his corporate account. So that was just a few seconds. Now let's switch back over to device listing and let's refresh the listing. So now you can see that device was added to our device listing page. Why is this important? So you know that the device has accessed that account, and should he be on vacation now and he leaves it at the beach, right? We can go in and we can wipe the account off of that device. So we're going to go over here. We're going to wipe the account. We give you a little warning to say what we're about to do. This touches the corporate account only. It doesn't touch any personal device. We're not going to wipe anybody's baby pictures off the device. And so now, when we go back over, and it may have happened so quickly that we've already lost the account, we don't have access to it, it's not in there anymore. So it's that simple. So I know what you're saying, that's great, that's Android. You guys own Android, you ought to be able to do that. Let's see it on iOS. And let's throw another wrinkle into this, which this is an iOS device that does not have a passcode enforced on it. So we're going to show you what happens when we try to log into Hangouts this time without a passcode on this device. So go ahead and get started. Same process. We add the account. So here comes the new account. We're going to put the password in it. And at this point, it should detect. Let's see. Try to turn it on. We've got a device policy alert. We'll pause for a second. You can see that we've thrown up a message that says, you have a problem. We need to set a passcode on this device before we're going to let you have access. So let's go ahead and go add a passcode on it. So this is a fairly simple process to go in. You're going to notice as Sachin's put in a very easy passcode. If you want a more advanced passcode enforced on the device, we can certainly support that. We're going to show it to you easy here. So he's added a passcode. Let's go back to Hangouts. Let's turn on the account. Boom. Now we're in the account. So as I mentioned, we're turning this feature on by default. Inventory management, the ability to selectively wipe an account, which we can show. We now have the ability to wipe the account. Here's the device. Let's wipe that account as well. So we're turning this on by default. Inventory management, the ability to selectively wipe an account, and passcode enforcement. And I will say that we have turned it on for new customers, and we've rolled it out to a significant portion of our G Suite customers. The only reason that an end user would be concerned or have to jump through any hoops is if they had to implement a passcode on their device. We've yet to have a single administrator call us up and say, I can't believe you turned this on, and now you're making my people secure their devices before they access my corporate data. So it's worked out really well for us. Let's flip back over now to the presentation. Great. So I've been focused on easy management, simplicity. So that said, there are a lot of organizations that require more advanced management, greater protections and control. So we can go toe-to-toe with all of the other major EMM providers on iOS and Android. And we can provide advanced management where you might want to do things like provide company-owned devices where you can control the camera and location services and that sort of thing. We can do application management where we push applications to the devices. We can do things like create a whitelist of applications for those devices. And then we've also, because we're integrated into the greater G Suite and the greater cloud identity, there are a lot of enterprise features that we get as part of that integration. And so one of those is what I want to show you today. So my colleague, Chad Tyler, is going to come up. And Chad's going to show you the Security Center. If you saw the keynote, there was a nice mention of that today in Prabhakar's keynote. We do proactive security recommendations and a whole host of other things. Chad can talk about it better than I can, so I'm going to move to his slide. And Chad, you can take it away. So.
All right. Thank you, and nice mic switch, by the way. So I'm going to walk you through the G Suite Security Center, and it also actually is the Cloud Identity Security Center. So it's available for everywhere where you're using Google Mobile Management. So you can think of the Security Center as having three main components. The first is security help, and that's meant to help you be more proactive about your security. It's meant to help you better understand the settings and tools that are available to you as an organization, so you can make very conscious decisions about how you're setting up your organization and whether or not you're following those best practices. The second is the security dashboards, and the security dashboards are meant to help you detect issues or detect things that are going on in your organization. They give a high-level overview of important security metrics from across your organization. And then the third is what we announced this morning for early adopter, which is called the investigation tool. The investigation tool is a tool that allows you to diagnose, triage, and resolve security incidents at scale. And so we'll walk through all of those in more detail and kind of give you a better idea of what those look like actually in the product. And so if we can switch over. And so the first thing I'm going to walk you through is security health. This is a quick view of what security health looks like. What we do here is we basically bring all the various tools and security settings from across G Suite and Cloud Identity into one place where you can see them and easily interact with them. With each of these settings, we provide a recommendation on what you should think about, how this might impact your users and your security, and you can dig into those in more depth. You can also, since the focus is more on devices, you can filter down to devices and better understand the various settings that are available to you to better manage and secure your devices in your organization. One important thing that I want to call out about the Security Center and Google Mobile Management in general is that this allows you to correlate not just information coming from your devices, but it allows you to understand how that relates to other important information that you're getting from your different products from your organization. So the dashboards here give you an overview of various metrics coming from Drive, coming from Gmail, coming from Google Mobile Management here, as well as OAuth, so you can understand what your users are granting to third-party products. So here I want to focus on the Google Mobile Management. You can see here when there's failed attempts, if somebody's trying to potentially break into a device, if a device has been compromised, or if there's suspicious activity going on. As you see things coming in, you can dig into any of these reports, and so you can get much more granular in what's going on and when that happened. And then the cool thing is, from any of these charts, what you can do is you can actually jump right from these to the new investigation tool. And so you can click right here on new investigation. And what this does is it generates a query that will actually show you the exact same information you were looking at in the charts in the investigation tool. And so this allows you to, again, get more granular on the data, but also, right from this tool, allows you to go in and do a lot of those same functions that Brad was just talking about, whether that's wiping out the corporate account or blocking the device until you can figure out what's going on with it. One further step you can take here in the investigation tool is, as I mentioned, it allows you to correlate the data with data coming from other areas in your organization. So for instance, if we wanted to look at these users, these devices that were having issues, that had suspicious activity, and maybe see what they were doing in Drive, that would be very easy from here. What we can do is what we call pivoting. And what pivoting does is it takes as input all the values from this column, and we can say, I want to see what these users have been doing in Drive specifically. And so that creates a new query with those values. And we can say, I want to see specifically if any of these users have taken a file that was shared internally and shared it externally. And so we can query on that. And when that comes back, basically we can see what those specific users that were on suspicious devices have been doing in Drive. And we see that there's been quite a bit of activity from there. And again, we can select these, and we can perform actions that are very specific to the data source we're looking at. So in this case, we can change the owner on those Drive files. We can remove specific users that shouldn't have access. We could disable their ability to print or copy or download those files. Or we can dig deeper into the files to better understand the current state of who they're shared with. And so you can go on to do many different examples of different types of data you can look at and correlate and better understand. But the idea here is that we enable your investigations. We use that data, and we let you leverage the data that's coming from all of those devices that you're managing and getting reports from, and you can better understand where there's compromise or where there might be issues and how that impacts other areas of your organization. So that's a brief overview of the Security Center. I'm going to pass it back to Brad so he can continue on.
Thank you, Chad. Thanks, Chad. All right. This is great. We're way ahead of schedule. So come on back up, Sachin. So I know what you're saying. Brad, you've been talking about mobile the whole time, but the name of this session had endpoints in it. So what is that about? So we've recently launched endpoint verification. Endpoint verification is we have a Chrome extension that runs in Chrome that allows us to start to gather desktop information for end users who are accessing corporate data on a desktop machine. So it works on Windows, on Chrome OS, on Mac OS, and more to come. So I want to show you a little bit about what that's about, if we can switch over to the demo. So here we're looking at our device management section of the admin console. And we're going to go into this new card that just appeared when we launched in mid-June for endpoint verification. So let's go take a look. So when we go into endpoint verification, this is going to show us all of the devices that have the endpoint verification extension installed in them that are accessing your corporate data. You can see that we've got a Chromebook. We saw a Mac OS there. We've got Windows devices. So all of these devices are running a Chrome extension, which we can highlight here in the upper right-hand corner. Show right there. So a little Chrome extension. This Chrome extension, what it's doing is it's querying the device, and it's reporting back to us characteristics about the device. So let's show another device details page here. And let's look at the Sachin's device. So I want to show you the type of information that we're getting from this extension. So you can see that we're finding things like, what's the password? Does this device have a password on it? What's the encryption status on the device? We can see some properties so that you could correlate, is this a device that's company-owned or a personal device? And you can see the user that's accessed it. So this is reporting only at the moment, but this is very rich information that we're pulling back from the devices. The way that endpoint verification gets installed, so your end users could go and manually install this extension if they wanted to. Or if you have device policy control over desktop machines, you could automatically push and install this extension if you needed to, so you can start gathering this information. So did we cover everything we wanted to cover on that? I think we did. So, okay, great. Then let's switch back over to the deck. So I want to give you an example of what that means. So we have recently added the ability, well first, is everyone here familiar with Drive File Stream? So Drive File Stream, for those of you who don't know, is a new feature. It's the world's largest hard drive. So you hook up Drive File Stream, and it looks seamless on a desktop machine, but you can go and you can access your drive files, and they're automatically synchronized down to your hard drive. Now, every administrator looks at that and says, that's great, but I've got to make sure that the device that that's on is secure, and I know that it's accessing it, and I can take action on that device if something happens to it, it becomes lost or stolen. And so we've recently launched in Trusted Tester Drive File Stream controls, where we can make sure that before Drive File Stream is enabled on the device, that it has to be a corporate-owned device, and we can wipe that device if there's a problem. So this is a taste of what we can do as we start to expand into the desktop, and there's lots more to come over the next few months in this area for us. So, okay, so I'm in the home stretch here, and then we're going to have plenty of time for questions. So, start thinking of a great question right now. So, why use Google Mobile Management? So I want to talk about what I think of as our top 4 design aspirations. So, number 1. We work where you work. So we don't require you to use any different apps to make Google Mobile Management work. We've integrated in as part of all of our first-party apps. All of your end users can use the apps that they know and love. We don't have to change the way they work to get Google Mobile Management going. And we make it easy. My team is tasked with striving for default management wherever possible, things that are simple, things that are unobtrusive. We want to have mobile management there even when you don't know that you need it, so that the first time you have a security incident, we've got your back. And that's what we showed you in the demo earlier. We've got you covered. This one's a little bit aspirational at the moment, but it's all devices, all endpoints. If our customers are going to access, if they're going to allow access to their corporate data on a device, we want to cover that device. We plan to secure it. We're doing a great job with that with iOS and Android at the moment. We've got the endpoint verification that we showed you earlier, and there's lots more to come there. And then number 4, we harness the power of Google. And so a couple of things I want to say about that. One is, you guys might be aware that Google has a pretty good consumer brand in addition to enterprise software. So we are taking the consumer experiences that we've built as part of Google, and we're applying that to enterprise software to make sure that enterprise software is usable and it's unobtrusive, and that your end users either don't know it's there or they love it because the experience is simple. The other thing, Google has multiple properties that have over 1 billion users, and all of those come with their own unique security threats. So we've taken the lessons that we've learned from securing these properties, and we're applying that to our enterprise software and specifically to device management. So the idea here is that if in your enterprise you start to see an attack vector, we've probably already seen it 1 billion times over, and we've got a fix for it. So don't just take my word for it. So we've been named a 2018 Gartner Peer Insights Customer Choice for Enterprise Mobility Management Suites. So the interesting thing about this is we haven't submitted ourselves to make the Magic Quadrant for this yet, but our customers went to Gartner and said that they love us, that we're simple, and we're easy to use. And so we're really proud of this award because it came from our customer base proactively going out to Gartner and saying how much they like Google for their mobile management needs. So I want to drive home one point. So if you don't get device management right now in your organization, you should. You need it. You don't have to get it from Google Mobile Management, but you got to get it somewhere. It's really important. Like the stat I showed up at the front, if 1/4 of the devices out there don't have a passcode on them, you've got a problem if you're allowing access on these devices out in the wild. I think we're a great choice. We're available at no extra cost in both cloud identity, the premium product that we just talked about. There's also a free version with the lightweight management that we showed earlier. And we're available as part of the G Suite. So if you're already a G Suite customer or you're already a cloud identity customer and you're not using Google Mobile Management, you should give us a try.